Hello, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'm going to be your host today for the whole show. Just me, just you and me hanging out, talking through the topic that you probably already saw by now. The title of this episode is going to be something like The Perfect Business. Finding the perfect business. Does the perfect business exist? Let's just daydream a little bit for a moment as we start the episode on that topic about what the perfect business is. So be thinking about that, and we'll get into it in just a moment. Before we get rolling with today's episode, though, just in case you're new around here, and this is one of the first times that we've hung out on this show together, you need to know this. We have hundreds of episodes where we've interviewed the students who are succeeding using the strategies we talk about on this show. To our knowledge, it's the only podcast in all of e-commerce that does exactly that. Interviews the students who are succeeding using the strategies taught on the podcast. A unique idea, right? So we do a combination of teaching great strategies and interviewing the people who are using them with success. So you'll find hundreds of those great interviews, virtually all of them, 99% of those interview episodes, of which there are many, like I mentioned, are students of the Proven Amazon course. There's a link to the Proven Amazon course at silentjimdotcom. You can get over there, see details on it. It's just $39 a month, and you get an entire library. There's 100 of us, approximately 100 people on our team who have contributed in some form to creating the content inside of that library of strategies for success with Amazon. We've got everything from the newest of new strategies for people who have never done anything before online, all the way up to the most advanced strategies, people with multiple seven-figure businesses, everything in between. Our coaching team of 60 coaches came from the successful students who've been exposed to the ideas in that course and went on to build beautiful businesses in different arenas with different strategies based on that library of content. The Proven Amazon course is a library of content, a little bit of something for everyone, regardless of where you're at and where you're trying to get in your e-commerce journey. Okay, enough of that. Just wanted to talk about it a little bit. That's how we pay the bills around here. Great students paying way less than they should for some of the greatest content, if not the greatest Amazon seller content in the world. Did you know it's the longest running course in the industry? Yeah, more success stories than any other course in the industry, to our knowledge. We've got a 76,000 member Facebook group that's completely free. We'd love you to go in there, join us. You're going to see a couple thousand success posts from our students who have been through that training. Link is at silentjim.com. Let's get into today's content. Now, maybe you want to pause the audio video for just a moment. Maybe take a couple notes if you want to, or just imagine. It's probably not hard for you to imagine what the perfect business might look like in your mind. Now, let's be realistic. I'm not talking about imagining a way that money just lands in piles on your front porch every day and you don't do anything and don't know why you deserve it or where it came from. Not talking about that. And I would argue that's not the perfect business model. There's no virtue in it. You're not serving anyone. You don't feel good about yourself at the end of the day because you've built something significant and served others well and you were rewarded for it. I'm talking about a business that you can be proud of, something you talk to others about, something that you can sleep well at night knowing that you've made the world a better place because you did the work, right? I'm talking about a real business that's out there serving real people who are gratefully paying you for what it is that you do. So let's talk through that lens of a real business. What qualities would that business have for you? And I think there's going to be some pretty universal things that will start to float to the top of all of our lists. Let's talk about those character traits, though. And I know for me, things that came to mind immediately were some of the things I wrote down over 20 years ago when my family and I, there's 7 of us in our family. Now the kids are getting older, getting married, moving on. But the only income we had for about 20 years for the 7 of us was my e-commerce adventure. So I set out over 20 years ago and I actually made a list. Here's the things I want. And the reason I got into e-commerce was I saw the opportunities there to build the business that I'd written down on paper that I really thought I wanted. I wanted to see if it was even possible. Over 20 years ago, it was more experimental. People thought you were a little crazy to get away from a real job and move into e-commerce. Now there's a lot more people doing it. So I've had a front row seat to a couple decades of what works, what doesn't. So let's start playing in the arena of e-commerce pretty quickly with this discussion. I think you're going to agree with me that there's very few other models out there where you can stick your business in your pocket and go wherever you'd like. I mean, that's e-commerce, right? We've traveled. We've spent, when we adopted our only daughter, we were 3 months in Guatemala. And I ran my business on poor internet connections where I had to go to wherever the connections were good and sit down with my laptop and do a little bit of work when I could, a few hours a week. My business grew while we were there. That's been a long time ago, over 15 years ago, right? So things have come a long way since then. The opportunities have expanded greatly. But let's get back to that list, okay? So we talked about the flexibility. I want to take my business with me in my pocket, be able to open it up whenever I want to. The flexibility also to me implies that I can work on it when I want to. I can put it away when I don't feel like it. And the reality of e-commerce is, for everyone I know that's doing it at any significant level, is you pick it up at least a little bit every day. Now, I take Sundays off, but we do work 6 days a week, at least checking in a little bit every day. But the extreme flexibility in between those sessions, work for a couple hours, take 3 hours off. I mean, that's kind of my actual routine. As I check in a little bit in the morning, I go exercise, take my time, have a great exercise regimen pretty much most days. And then I come back and see what's happened since I last checked in and get a little more work done. If it's going well, I might do something with my family. If it needs my attention, I might stick around a little bit, but extreme flexibility. So that's definitely a big one that we can put on there, right? Who doesn't want more flexibility in their schedule, in their time, and their ability to spend time with the people they love, the ability to work from anywhere, including home, right? You don't need to go to an office. All right. So that's what we're going to put on our list so far. Risk. Now, come on, if we're going to be honest, we don't want something that is super high risky. We're going to be completely stressed out the rest of our lives if it's ever going to work out or not. Now, little news for you. Business is risk. Business is stress. Business is managing that tension between having the lifestyle you want and having to do the work that needs done, even when you don't feel like it. Welcome to owning a business. That's what it's like for the vast majority of business owners I've ever met. None of them are like, yeah, I put it down for 3 or 4 months at a time, and then I pick it up and pay a little attention to it. And yeah, I kind of ignore it sometimes. If I'm not in the mood, I just don't really do anything for a month or two. That's not the reality of being a business owner for anyone. Once you've sold it and it's someone else's business, maybe, but not when you're the one responsible for making sure that the business is profitable. So there's always going to be risk. There's always going to be stress. But what kind of risk, what kind of stress are we talking about? With e-commerce, specifically with the model that I'm going to talk to you about in a moment, I would argue that it's the least stressful business I've ever been a part of, because I know that it's flexible, that I can put it down anytime, that there are so many directions to pivot. And in spite of some of the negatives that you might hear, there's always a way to pivot. It's more of a mindset game than it is the reality of the challenges you're going to face. Because like I've seen time and time and time again, the people who are confronted with a challenge make it through if they have the right mindset. If they don't make it through. The people who tend to complain tend to fail. The people who tend to say, okay, what are some creative solutions? How can I pivot? They tend to succeed. There's almost like a line down the middle where you know if someone's going to win or not in a challenge based on the mindset they approach that challenge. With every opposition, there comes opportunity. That is a consistent rule in life. That's ancient Hebrew wisdom. That's not just a cute thing I came up with. Every time you're opposed, there's opportunity there if you'll just put the right perspective to the challenge. And a few ways we do that around here, just to kind of get away from our list for a moment, is we always say, you want to have people around you that are smarter than you that you can bounce these things off of. People who do business with a community tend to succeed. People who do it in isolation tend to fail. It's very easy to lose your mindset if you're in isolation. You want to be around others, be around talking to other people. Often when I'm coaching someone and they have those days where like, I don't even know what to work on. I feel a little overwhelmed. There's like 50 things I could do. I don't really want to do any of them. What should I do to kind of get back on track here? Say, call up a few people that you've successfully worked with in the past. A few people that you know you need to be maintaining relationships with. Check in on them, see what they're doing. What are they working on? How are they doing? How could you help them? That'll get the ball rolling. They'll have something for you, an opportunity they've been meaning to get back with you about. that always leads to good things, connecting with others. Okay, so let's get back to our list. We've talked about flexibility. We've talked about risk. We want something with relatively low risk. We're not going to take any kind of big legal risks or any kind of big, health, uh, personal injury risks, those kinds of things. So pretty low key, low risk type of thing. High odds of success would be nice, right? The higher, the better. That's kind of the opposite of the risk side, right? We want really high odds of success. We want to be in an emerging opportunity where the big trends, the big paradigm shifts in our culture are in our favor, right? We don't want to be opening up a DVD rental store. Even if it meets all the other criteria, the big trends just aren't in your favor anymore, right? Missed that window in the 80s. So you want big trends in your favor. Uh, you want to be able to potentially have multiple income streams as a result of the work you're doing. Wouldn't that be a great idea? So that if one stream fails, you've got some other things happening that kind of back it up. And as you work on those streams, those lead to more streams. Wouldn't that be cool if you had a business model that did that? These independent streams could be set up that complement each other and reinforce each other, but any one of them could go down and it doesn't take out the flow of income that you're experiencing. By the way, that's been my reality for 20 years. Different streams rise and fall and fade and come and go, but we're always adding more. We're always maintaining the ones that are going. And that's been our reality. I could easily say I've had 80 different streams of income over the 20 years. Some of them represent a much bigger share of our income, of course, but that's really nice to have streams. We'll talk about that as well as we talk about the perfect business model. So we've talked so far about risk, flexibility, big trends being in your favor, building multiple streams. And the last thing I want to talk about is we want it to be something that can scale, can be automated, handed off to others, right, over time. And ideally, it's an asset that can be sold at some point. So those are the last factors that I would describe. For me, they would represent the perfect business. Even better, here's one. It does well in times of cultural struggle. What do you mean by that? Well, when things get hard for most people, this business kind of does better. Wouldn't that be a cool thing to add to your list? Now, just keep in mind right now, we're just imagining the perfect business. Like, what character traits would it have? So I've spent a lot of time thinking about this subject. If you've never done it before, hopefully you're enjoying the experiment. Maybe you've written down a list. Maybe you have more things than that. Some of the things I've added to my list that maybe aren't on yours would be, I want to be able to involve family if I choose to do so, and they can contribute in a meaningful way and step in and build with us and step away if it's not for them. We don't have to have them, but it is something that they could step into easily. It's not something that requires such a huge learning curve and such a unique skill and talent pool or unique skill set. They'll have to go searching through a large talent pool to find the right people. I want it to be something people can kind of plug into. People I like can plug in and contribute. Wouldn't that be cool? Instead of needing, some advanced engineering PhD degree to solve certain issues, that's just a different level of hard work that doesn't represent, from my vantage point, the perfect business. It needs to be something that you can pick up in a relatively short amount of time and begin seeing the results of your work as well. I don't want to work for years to see if it's going to work out. Now, I'm all for the people who go for business models that don't meet this description. We need them, right? We need people that build the advanced technology that takes millions of dollars of risk and research and big groups of smart people working for a long period of time, hoping that it becomes profitable someday. Thank God for those kind of investors who have that kind of vision. But I wouldn't describe that as the perfect business because, again, risk and all the demand and all the time and right. So e-commerce makes it possible for us to start to define what's the perfect business. Not that you have to pursue it, but I certainly did. And I've seen thousands of others do it as well. And we've got a community of people who have done that. So let's talk about what we believe is the perfect business that meets all the criteria that I've laid out so far. Am I saying there's no challenges? Absolutely not. Someone's going to come back and listen to just the first 10 minutes of this and say, well, Jim thinks it's perfect because there's never any challenges. No, that's not what I said at all today. And I'm making it very clear, and I'll hit towards the end of the show some of the challenges you will face. But I would argue there's some of the more minimal challenges that any business owner will ever face. Where Amazon sellers talk about lost inventory in Amazon's warehouse, a retail store owner has shoplifters and people breaking in, stealing things, and employee theft. Right? Those kinds of things go into any business. There's going to be downsides. So I'm not trying to sugarcoat anything, but I think as close as we can get to the perfect business is the model we teach here. And that's the reason we teach it. Remember, we don't teach Amazon selling strategies because we're all huge Jeff Bezos fans or because we're all want to be, we like the river Amazon or, there's no random reason here that you can identify. There's only one reason when you really drill down that we teach specifically the Amazon selling model that we teach. There's dozens of ways to make money on Amazon. We're teaching one specific strategy to all new sellers. Why? Because we've discovered it's as close to the perfect business model as we can find out there anywhere. A couple of the other factors I haven't even mentioned yet: the low cost of entry, a couple $100, and you can have proof of concept. That's pretty incredible, right? How many businesses out there can you have proof of concept where you're starting to earn money and see the results of your work within a few $100s spent? That's another great one, isn't it? We call it the low, low, high around here. You may have heard us talk about this before. I'll cover it again if you haven't heard us. This will be useful to you. The low, low, high is something that Robin Joy, a great coaching team leader, came up with. She's on a lot of podcast episodes with her husband, Brian, as well. It goes like this. The model we teach, we call it replens. Don't need to know what that is for now, but that's the Amazon model that we teach here. We came up with it here, and we've come as close to perfecting it as anyone. Multiple seven-figure sellers using just that strategy and the tools that have been developed in this community to help automate it. So replens, that model is the lowest risk, lowest learning curve, lowest investment required business model that we can find anywhere that has the highest odds of success of any business model that we can find anywhere. Does that mean everyone who tries it makes money? Absolutely not. We're talking about business. Business is risk. It's delayed gratification. It's watching your numbers. It's not making any stupid mistakes. If the first time you make $500 profit, you go buy a new car, you've probably really messed up and made a bad decision, and you've made it hard for your business to continue growing because the resources you needed are now going into your new toy. There's 1,000 ways, 10,000 ways to mess up the momentum of a good business. But assuming that you're diligent and you do the work and you're responsible with your numbers and you follow the system that we've built, your odds of success are as high as anything we've ever seen. Now, that's not true of all Amazon selling models. In fact, it's quite the opposite. People who start off trying to launch their own brand on Amazon as their first adventure in e-commerce or as their first attempt on Amazon, they want to launch a new product, they want to buy it from China and put their label on it. That's about a 95% failure rate. And it's getting harder all the time. That's not the model we encourage. Now, we'll get you there over time, but we don't want to start you there. The model we start you out with can be described as simply helping Amazon fill the underserved shelf space at their hundreds of warehouses located in the United States. That's right, helping Amazon fill the underserved shelf space at their hundreds of warehouses. Now, I'm not going to dive real deep into what the business model is. You can hear it on other podcast episodes. You can go learn it in the Proven Amazon course. This is what we teach to all new sellers. But let me just talk about some of the details. The fact that Amazon has hundreds of warehouses is important. Because think about this. What do busy shoppers want when they hop online? They want the product they want. Yeah, they want a decent price. Sure. Some people want the lowest price possible, and they're going to spend 3 days shopping and looking at all their options. But what a lot of people want, what an increasing number of people want, is the fastest possible option. As long as the price is within reason, they don't care if they pay a little bit more. They want it 2 hours from now. A lot of people shop that way online, especially in major cities in the US. That creates millions of underserved listings on Amazon from our vantage point. Huge opportunity there. Some people are skeptical when they hear me say that you can sell items for $40 that people could easily go source from a Walmart for 20, and they could buy on Amazon for 25. So I'm selling it for 40 on Amazon. Other sellers are selling it for $25 on Amazon, $15 less than me, on a product that they could easily go source at Walmart for 20. Why in the world would someone pay me 40? Well, it's not hard to imagine a scenario where you've got a busy mom and she needs something as fast as possible. She doesn't have time to go to Walmart. She doesn't want to wait 3 to 4 days for the delivery. On the other option, that's cheaper, she's going to gladly pay $40 and have it in 2 hours because it's in a warehouse near her. That happens all day, every day on Amazon. That's a little snapshot of what it means to serve the underserved shelf space at Amazon. Popular items that are understocked in major areas and warehouses around the US. There's just not enough sellers that have any inventory at the warehouse. A lot of customers don't want to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 days for their delivery. They want it, if possible, today, and they'll gladly pay. But if they don't have that option, no one will ever know how much they'd have been willing to pay. We call all that shelf space underserved. So that's a little taste of it. The beautiful thing is you can wade in very slow, buy just a little bit of inventory at a time, test. Your worst case scenario is you're going to get your money back. Remember, we talked about low risks. You can run this business from anywhere. We have people who live outside the United States who buy stuff online and have it sent to a prep partner who gets the stuff ready and sends it into Amazon for them. So it's hands-free, it's flexible, you can scale it. We've got multiple seven-figure sellers doing just this model, never seeing or touching their inventory in many cases because they've grown and scaled the system over time. Now, we don't offer any done-for-you services, and we don't promise that you're going to be able to do this hands-free in 2 months. That's irresponsible. It's unrealistic. But we can teach you how to do it, and you can scale into it at your own pace. That's what we call the Amazon Replens business, as taught in the Proven Amazon course. The closest thing to a perfect business model that anyone's ever seen on our leadership team. Does that mean there's not other options out there for you? Of course not. There's all kinds of business options out there, but this is the lowest cost, lowest learning curve, lowest technology required in all of e-commerce from my vantage point, lowest investment needed, highest odds of building a real business. That's why we love it. That's what we do around here. If you're new, we'd love to show you how good we are at teaching people how to do exactly what I just described. Now, maybe your perfect business model includes other things. That's great. Go pursue it. But if you want to have the greatest odds of success, this is the model that we encourage. I've got friends who will contact me from college. I've got people I haven't talked to in years, guys that I play basketball with. I've got neighbors. I've got other people from church. Speaking of church, there's people like, hey, what do you do on Amazon? Like, hey, here you go. Yeah, check it out. Learn. They end up learning. They end up doing great. They end up quitting their job, end up doing this full time, end up becoming a coach on our team. It's like this little thing. I go to a fairly large church and there's several people there who are now on our team. I don't just do this random thing online. I really believe in this stuff. I've really been doing it for 20 years and we really help people all day, every day build beautiful businesses. If you want to talk to us about your e-commerce business ideas and the strategies you've tried, and maybe you have some questions for us about whether we can help you or not. We love talking about all kinds of e-commerce ideas around here, but do you want to have a one-on-one call with us? Completely free. Go to silentjimdotcom/book a call. All one word, book a call. Hop on our calendar, set a time, have a conversation with someone on our team that's been with me a very long time. Everyone in the office has been with me a long time at this point. Really, really good people. And they know the answers to most of the questions you're going to ask and can help you out. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to refer you to someone who does. And you can always jump in our Facebook group as well. 76,000 of us in there hanging out, talking e-commerce, specifically excited about the Amazon opportunity. Now, let me build a little bit more credibility on the Amazon opportunity. Then I'm going to talk about some of the challenges, and then we'll wrap up this episode. So why Amazon? Well, I've told you quite a bit about the opportunity, but let me just give you some of the numbers behind it to kind of build your confidence as well. So any given day in the United States, half of all transactions online, approximately, are happening on one website, Amazon. The next closest competitors are such a distant second, third, and fourth place that you add them all together, they don't come close to what Amazon does every single day. I think you can add up the next 10 competitors, something like that, and you're not even close to what Amazon does every day. as far as number of transactions in the United States. But you think that's a cool number? Check out this number. All of e-commerce in the US, everything that people are buying online every day, having delivered to their house, all of it added together is still less than 20% of retail sales in the United States. How crazy is that? The game hasn't even started yet. I know your impression is probably that it's huge, but these are numbers you can Google, you can check it out. We talk about this all the time around here. That's why I said the paradigm shift, the cultural shifts are all in our favor. The future is very bright. This thing is expanding and growing faster than any of us can keep up with. That underserved shelf space is growing. There's no saturation here. The amount of products, there's 1 billion ASINs on Amazon right now. There'll be more tomorrow. It would take you 32 years to count to 1 billion if you were counting the items in Amazon's catalog right now. And it's expanding. So anytime you hear people like, oh, it's saturated, no. E-commerce is taking over traditional retail, and we're only a couple steps into a very long game that's going to play out over time in your favor if you're in e-commerce. So those are some numbers I love to share with, especially people who are new. Maybe someone that has the impression that, yeah, it's been around a while, surely it's kind of all saturated by now. No, it's actually not. The opportunity is expanding faster than anyone can possibly stay on top of. And if it's not Amazon, it'll be Walmart or eBay or something. People are shopping online more and more all the time. Right now, Amazon is where they go for the speed and convenience, oftentimes paying very little attention to what they're paying as customers buy stuff from warehouses near them. They're not buying from the hundreds of Amazon warehouses. They have the option to do so if they're willing to wait. A lot of shoppers buy from the warehouse near them, and it is understocked on a lot of really popular items that you could send a few in and do really, really well. We demonstrate that all the time around here on how easy that is. And keep in mind, that's one of dozens of business models that we teach to help you succeed on Amazon. All right, let's talk about some of the challenges that you'll face, because otherwise I'll be accused of painting this in too rosy of a picture for what it means to be an Amazon seller. Now, while we have had thousands of people launch successful businesses over the past several years that we've been doing this, we have the longest running Amazon seller conference in the world. We're doing our 13th one in May of 2025, actually, and we'd love to have you there. The website for that is 3 words. Are you ready? The website is theprovenconference.com. theprovenconference.com. You can see details there. So about 800 of us or so gathered last year in 2024, May, and the videos are part of the Proven Amazon course, by the way. It's a tremendous event, 40 breakout sessions. So we've been doing this a long time. We've seen a lot of people succeed, but there are certainly challenges, as with anything that a whole lot of people are trying to do. There's going to be some rough edges. One of the things we like to help our new sellers do to avoid some of those mistakes is we've set up it was actually a podcast episode. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I'll at least tell you the link right now where you can go and see this list. It's posted in our free Facebook group. Go to silentjim.com/mistakes. It's about 15 mistakes that if you avoid those, your odds of stubbing your toe, bumping your head, and running into trouble with Amazon plummets. Your odds of having struggles with any kind of IP complaints, intellectual property complaints, or Amazon suspending one of your listings, or even suspending you temporarily and having a problem with the way you're running your business, your odds go down because you're avoiding all of the common mistakes that most new sellers make. Stuff like trying to drop ship or selling liquidations and returns, or, sourcing stuff from China and putting it on the wrong listing, selling against listings that were set up improperly, all those things that we train you to avoid in our course. We give that list away for free just to try to help as many sellers as possible succeed. So a lot of the stuff that you hear where people are complaining about Amazon being so mean, well, really all they're doing is protecting themselves legally from irresponsible behavior from sellers who, innocently enough, made mistakes and didn't sell on their platform properly. I can say this, we've seen a good number of suspensions from Amazon, and there's a reason every time. People say, well, they shut me down for no reason. No, there was a reason, and they probably tried to fix it before it happened, and you probably ignored a policy, and you probably didn't take the course on that strategy before you started launching into it. So that's most of the suspension issues that we see. Are there exceptions? Sure, 1 in 10,000 exceptions to anything. But for the most part, you can easily avoid all those challenges you're hearing. And we prove it all day, every day in our open Facebook group where we discuss very openly all the challenges that sellers see and we help them navigate them. There's about a 98% chance you'll be reinstated within a week or two if you're ever suspended on Amazon for innocent mistakes. Happens, and they let you back in. You write a plan of action and you come back on in and you learned your lesson. That happens, but don't let the negative stuff you're hearing out there talk you out of doing this, because the opportunity is rapidly expanding and we've got proof. And we still feel, as of summer of 2024, Amazon, specifically the replens model, the filling the underserved shelf space at Amazon's hundreds of warehouses, that model is, from our vantage point, the best business model in the world. Low risk, low learning curve, low investment required, highest odds of success if you follow the system. What are some of the other risks that you're taking, some of the other challenges you might run into? You hear a lot about people talking about receipts and invoices. And this is the last thing I'm going to hit, because it's the other major issue that kind of gets people confused when they're new. Receipts and invoices. I heard I need an invoice if I ever want to sell anything. I can't use store receipts. I tell you this, at this point, it's safe to say tens of thousands of students that have come through our Amazon seller community. I can think of, it's a pretty small number of people who've actually had a retail receipt, a legitimate retail receipt, ultimately rejected by Amazon. Do you know what that number is? 0. That's the number of legitimate retail receipts that have ever been rejected by Amazon in our seller community, with tens of thousands of students buying inventory from popular retail outlets, Walmart, Costco, Target, well, you name it, all the popular places, Kroger, any of the legitimate big retailers online as well, same thing. Those are legitimate receipts. Here's what Amazon does when your inventory is challenged, and here's where the misperception comes in. I've actually got a post on this topic. Let me just give you that link real quick so you can go see it in our Facebook group if you'd like. It's silentjimdotcom/receipts. silentjim.com/receipts. I talk through the common misconceptions about using retail receipts and invoices and all that. But let me just help you out a little bit. What Amazon does, if you're accused and someone says, I think this was a counterfeit bottle of water, I don't think it's really from the manufacturer. What Amazon's going to do is go back to you and say, hey, you're being accused of selling a counterfeit. Could we see the proof, the paperwork? And you're going to give them the paperwork. It's either going to be a receipt or an invoice from wherever you sourced your inventory. And they're going to look at where you sourced it from. There's an address, there's a business name and an address there. In some cases, it's abundantly obvious immediately that that's legitimate inventory. You bought it from a Walmart store. You bought it from Kroger. You bought it from a popular retail chain that doesn't sell counterfeit. You're safe. You're good. End of discussion. But if Amazon wants to research a little further, maybe they're not sure, they'll call the brand. Okay. So I've got here, Pure whatever brand water. Amazon's going to call Pure brand water and they're going to say, hey, we got a seller here who was accused of counterfeit. What we want to know is the store they bought from, Discount Bargain Bob's, before they sold it on our site. Is Discount Bargain Bob's a legitimate retailer, wholesaler, distributor, website for your product? If the brand says, never heard of them, you're in trouble as a seller. If the brand says, oh yeah, they're authorized, no problem. Here's the good news and the bad news. Good news is there's tens of thousands, probably more like hundreds of thousands of legitimate places you can go to buy brand authorized inventory. It's everywhere. Every store shelf near you, odds are, is brand authorized. But when you're in doubt, you need to check with the brand. You don't need to tell the brand you're a reseller. Just check in with them. Say, hey, I'm getting ready to buy product Pure water from Bargain Bob's discount bin. Is that a legitimate authorized distributor for your product? Hey, can you assure me that I'm not about to buy counterfeit on accident or a shelf pull or return? And they'll say, we've never heard of those guys. No, that's not authorized channel. Be careful. Got your answer. Because if Amazon hears that answer later when they research, well, you're in trouble. It's that easy. Sometimes people say, well, the website looked legitimate. The retailer looked legitimate. They had good lighting and good shelves. That doesn't matter. What matters is, does the brand have your back in saying that the place you bought your inventory is a legitimate distributor, retailer, wholesaler, or website for their product. And if not, don't buy it from there. Some of the places we see people making the biggest mistakes are some of the done for you services. None of them are authorized to be selling the stuff they are for Amazon sellers. None of them. And the people who like conglomerate great deals for Amazon sellers. No, we don't trust them. There's a lot of fake wholesalers. There's a lot of professional counterfeit rings in Southern California that go in and just clear the shelves and then try to sell the stuff. What are they going to do? Set up a fake wholesale company and sell it to Amazon sellers, right? Well, it's a fake wholesaler. They're not recognized by the brand. They're not in the distribution channel for that brand. Ask the brand. It's a 3-word, simple little answer when people say, am I buying from a legitimate source? 3 words. Ask the brand. Whatever the brand says, that's what you go with. Actually, at silentjimdotcom, there is, if you go silentjim.com slash, the receipts, and then mistakes is a good one. You're going to see references to these conversations about this, where if you'll just ask the brand, you'll be fine every single time. And that's one way to avoid buying bad inventory. And that's one of the big mistakes we see. So we're talking about the big risks, the things that people get in trouble for. And you see these posts be like, yeah, I bought great inventory. I had a receipt, but Amazon rejected it because Amazon's crazy. No, it's not Amazon that's crazy. They had no way of proving that you weren't selling counterfeit goods. If you can't prove it, they can't prove it. Bob's bargain bin discount space doesn't have any way of verifying that that stuff isn't counterfeit or a shelf pull or a return, which Amazon does not like. All right. So those are some of the risks, how to mitigate those risks. But we started off on a positive note. Let's end on a positive note. The perfect business model. It doesn't exist. The perfect model obviously doesn't exist. But what's the closest thing to it that we've ever found? Selling on Amazon using the replen strategies. Hopefully, this has been encouraging to you. If you're ready to get started, there's a couple things you can do. If you're still skeptical and you want to check it out a little bit more and hear hundreds of success stories from students who are doing it, just scroll back in time on this podcast, listen to more episodes, silentjim.com/podcast. Go hear them. If you're ready to spend $39 on the only training course you'll ever need as your Amazon journey unfolds, it'll grow with you, new content flowing in constantly, old stuff being purged out, new updates every month, live training sessions every month. It's the way to kind of jump into the core of our community. Well, then you want the Proven Amazon course, provenamazoncourse.com. If you want to go further faster and work with one of the most successful members of our team who's built a beautiful business, still maintains that business, and has carved out a little time to help other students do the same, well, then you want to talk about a coaching program. Go to silentjim.com/book a call, have a conversation and say, Jim told me about the coaching program, and then ask your questions. I'll answer them and we'll see if it's a good fit for you. All right, that's enough for today. Thank you for hanging out with me. Great episode. I think I did all the talking. You did all the listening. Hey, why don't you join us sometime on our free Facebook group? We'd love to hear from you. What ideas do you have? What challenges do you have for the topic today? What other things would go into your list of the perfect business? I'd love to have a discussion with you about it. And just so you know, you can join us live every Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody in our Facebook group is invited to jump on a Zoom call each week, and we just go live and discuss whatever's on your mind. You can listen in anonymously, or you can jump in and join the conversation every week, Mondays, 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's the same Zoom link every week. Come join us. We'd love to have you be a part of it. It's a good way to get a feel for the community and ask some questions from the leadership team, myself included. I'm there most weeks. We'd love to spend some time hanging out with you. All right. God bless you, business building warrior. Thanks for hanging out with me today. It was truly a pleasure. Hopefully I served you well and gave you some good ideas. Let me know what you thought. Leave us a review, subscribe, hearts, likes, all that. That really helps, especially those iTunes reviews. We love those. That really helps us out. If you can leave us a review on iTunes, if you never have a written review, man, those are so cool. We love to see those popping in. And most people just don't take the time to do it. So we consider it a huge favor to us when you do. Let me know that you've left us a review when you do it. I would love to hear from you about that. All right. We'll have another great episode for you very soon.